Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody tonight? Hope you're all well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. So then, we are going to be taking a look at a brand new campaign supplement for the Cypher System. It's Only Magic from Monte Cook Games. We are going to be taking a look at modern magic settings, rules for magic cozy or grand, magical creatures, magical items, and world-building advice. So if you have been enjoying Agatha all along on Disney+, then this potentially is the perfect companion for you to settle yourself down in a nice cozy armchair and enter a world of magic. Good evening, Roger. Thank you for joining us this evening. You're just in time. Of course, my thanks to Monte Cook Games for providing a copy of It's Only Magic for us to take a look at this evening. All right, let's jump to the table and take a look. Here we go then. So I've got the book here, and of course right away we have this wonderful stylized artwork of the cover that we really have been enjoying on all of these Monte Cook Games white books, haven't we? We've looked at so many over the past months. We've looked at sci-fi and fantasy. We've looked at post-apocalyptic and superheroes. We've looked at fairy tales and horror. And so now we're taking a look at magic, but in the modern day setting. Let's take a look at the blurb on the back. Imagine a world of spells, glamours, ghosts and demons. A world like ours with today's society, technology and culture. Perhaps a cozy witchcore setting or a frantic campaign where dark supernatural forces threaten existence itself. Whatever your vision, It's Only Magic brings a touch or a truckload of magic to the modern world. Discover tools and advice for integrating magic and the supernatural into any modern game, along with adventures and inspiration, rules, creatures, and character options, and a richly detailed setting that you can use for a cozy standalone campaign or drop into a larger magic-touched world. So inside this book you will find great adventure and world-building advice for creating fun, compelling modern magic campaigns, new foci, descriptors and other character options, optional rules for magic cozy or grand, craft magic items, find your familiar or load up on cantrips, loads of magical creatures, a cozy coffee shop magic campaign setting, the Axial, plus a second 16-page bonus campaign setting, New Grimsby, by Eric Campbell and Jodie Hauser of the Steampunks, and 3 complete adventures you can use in any game of modern magic. As we did point out, this is a setting and supplement for the Cypher System and requires the Cypher System Rulebook for play. Alright, so we've got quite a bit to look through. Let's dive on in. Again, love the artwork style. I can't wait to see what the next cover is going to be and what might that book cover, but we'll soon find out. And we've got this wonderful artwork as we dive on in. Of course, we've got used to the quality of artwork from Monte Cook Games. It's always of the highest standard, isn't it? We have our credits, we have our introduction. So this pretty much follows the same format that all the previous white books have done. We have part 1, which is focused on world building and gives us all the tools that we might need, and we'll go through that in some detail. We then have part 2, which is the Axial, which is a entire world setting, taking all of the world building and putting it into action, and having everything there set up for our players to play in a world of modern magic. We then have this new Grimsby, which I think was that the coffee shop it mentioned? And then we have part 4, which is those 3 adventures. Of course, what I will do is as we get closer to the areas, specifically maybe the new Grimsby and the adventures, I will bring up the spoiler page so that if you are a player who wants to enjoy those adventures, then they will not be spoilt for you. You can tune out at that point. But up until that, let's take a look through the book. All right. So then, what do we have? We have an introduction. And then, as we saw before, we have part 1, which is world building. And modern fantasy. People love the idea of fantasy. Fairy tales, nursery rhymes, myths and legends. And epic stories are so common, but we all know that witches, wizards and spells and monsters are. So it's given us a little bit of a tease as to, well, what kind of stories are in modern fantasy? And as we've seen with the other white books, it starts to break things down a little bit. So, Roger, since you're in the chat with us, what is your favourite modern fantasy? Be it a TV program or a book or a movie? But let's... you guys in the chat or leave a comment on the video. Tell me what is your favourite modern fantasy genre. But let's go through some of the examples here, because this is what these white books do so well, is they take a genre and then break it down. They deconstruct that genre, and so that you learn a lot about it. Things that you might not have considered previously, and that's what I found when I read through the book. So, breaking modern fantasy genres down, what do we have? Monsters are real. So, inhuman things of various kinds are real, and they are usually a threat to the normal people of the world. In these stories, the PCs typically are humans trying to keep the monsters at bay. And of course, the great thing about this is it gives a few examples. So here we go. Maybe, Roger, this will help you out a little bit, some of these examples. So in a world where monsters are real, what have we got to draw inspiration from? We got Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dark Shadows, Good Omens, Grimm. Did you watch the TV series Grimm? Hellblazer and Constantine, Hellboy, True Blood. Supernatural, yes. Supernatural would come on into that one, wouldn't it? Monsters are real. How about a secretly magical world? Magic and the supernatural are real, but most regular people don't know it and go through life thinking they're in a non-magical world. Alright, so what examples? We have American Gods, Bewitched, Good Omens again, Highlander, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Sandman. I guess, yeah, Highlander's a good one. Again, you think of it, and yes, Harry Potter, of course. Buffy, yes, because there are characters that do use magic. So this is where some of these do sort of straddle various breakdowns, don't they? That it can actually be in multiple sort of camps on this. So techno magic. Magic is as well known as technology and may be as common as technology, and mixing the two is possible. While one person commutes to work on a motorcycle, their co-worker gets there on a flying broom. Regular people may have access to magic created by others, but they may not be able to directly use it themselves. Much like how most people have a mobile phone or a computer, but wouldn't know how to build one or understand how they work. And what does it give? Examples. We've got The Legend of Korra, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's an interesting one, isn't it? And of course, it makes me think straight away then of Doctor Strange. I think he's the character there, isn't it? That you have to learn the magic, but it is a technical pursuit, just like learning surgery, learning medicine. And then, of course, the Shadowrun RPG, which is that fantasy, but it's sci-fi fantasy blended, isn't it? You were going to say Doctor Strange as well. Yes. Okay. What else do we have? Near Modern Magic. This is a modern fantasy story set in the recent past rather than present day, such as the British Victorian era, World War II, the Cold War, or the 1980s. So examples of this are Carnival Row, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Dark Shadows. So I'm familiar with the movie and the comic book of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And Carnival Row, I saw that. That includes fey creatures as well, doesn't it? So has the magical element in there. We then have magical superheroes. In this modern setting, magic is known to exist and magicians are regarded as superheroes or supervillains by the general public. So, of course, we have the complete list of comic book characters here. Doctor Strange, John Constantine, Loki, Scarlet Witch, Zatanna. We then have supernatural investigators, blending aspects of monsters are real and secretly magical world. In this setting, magic and various supernatural creatures are real. The protagonists use their knowledge and magic to investigate problems and solve crimes involving the occult, illegal or unethical use of magic, and mysterious creatures. So you did mention Angel. We have Hellboy, Twin Peaks, The X-Files. And of course, we did talk about Buffy. Lost Girl had a fae, yeah, she was a succubus, wasn't she? Yeah. So, and of course, Supernatural would definitely fall into that particular category. Non-human society. The general public knows that intelligent supernatural creatures like vampires, werewolves, and genies exist. The main conflict in the setting might be how humans attempt to deal with dangerous monsters, or how the more peaceful ones try to integrate with human society. Examples: Being Human, True Blood, Women of the Otherworld series. Again, going through this, I am learning about books and TV shows and movies that I wasn't previously aware of. Multiverse. There are multiple worlds, and at least one of which has magic, and characters can, and frequently do, cross between them. The availability of magic often varies between the different worlds, and it's common for one to be mundane, like the real Earth, and others to have magic or a blend of magic and technology. So examples being the Chronicles of Amber series, His Dark Materials, the Dark Tower series. And I guess Multiverse, would that not be Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe? Travelling to a different universe. There was definitely an evil witch there, wasn't there? Supernatural holiday episode. This is an interesting one. For those not willing to jump into a modern fantasy setting with both feet, it's easy to include a short story arc in any modern or futuristic campaign where magic is real, taking a cue from many television shows and films that otherwise avoid the supernatural. This option might be a fun Halloween-themed session with witches, zombies, and other monsters. Or a sentimental Christmas session where the characters interact with someone who turns out to be an angel or even Santa Claus. That's just breaking my mind. That's strange, but yes, it is a sort of a semi-popular trope, isn't it, within TV shows? So why not? Could you imagine that, playing a relatively serious campaign with a group of friends and then suddenly throwing on in a supernatural holiday episode? But I guess, maybe you do it as a seasonal thing. It's just a bit of fun, just shakes everything up, doesn't it? So we've got quite a few different ways of how magic can be incorporated into a modern day setting. So we then start getting our guidance on building this modern fantasy setting. And again, this is what I really like about these white books, is it really goes in deep. It breaks everything down and gets you to sort of think about how you might take elements from TV shows or books that you really enjoy to be able to incorporate them into your games. So it does say borrowing from another source, and why not? This is something that we've seen in the previous books. If you and your players are familiar with a certain TV show or book, it is so much easier to say this character or this setting is just like that in that particular show or book. People instantly understand, and half the work has been done for you. Sometimes it's much, much harder to communicate something that is wholly original. But you can kind of do something original, but have it linked to something that they've already seen. And that makes things so much easier. So we get to create a new setting, how we might break this down. What is the world like? Having a starting location. What's actually happening right now for the players to get involved in? What might happen in the future? What's happened in the past? All these things to consider. And then magic. Is the existence of magic new, old, a cycle of plenty and scarcity? What things can magic do? Setting some of the magical rules within your world. What is the knowledge of magic? Do the PCs know about magic at the start of the campaign? Is its existence a well-guarded secret known only to a select few? Magical people, magical creatures, magical groups. This is a great breakdown that you could just use these as header bullet points and then start jotting down what your thoughts are. And once you've gone through all of these sections, you have created your magical world and you have some rules. And the good thing, what makes people believe a world is that when you've got rules, you don't break them. Unless sometimes you specially want to break that one rule. Maybe there's a special item that does break it. But consistency of the world's rules is makes it more believable. So we got some optional topics to take a look at. Some elements about familiars and who can learn magic. This actually, when I look at this is typically what people do when they create actual stories, and they basically put this down as their main guide on the world in which this story exists. So this is actually useful not just in building this magical modern fantasy setting, but for any world that you might create. It's always good to have rules. And it, as we know, it goes into so much detail. We got limitations to magic, existing spell lore, magical schools, what deities. I'm thinking, when I see that, I thought of the series, but of course it was from a series of books. Is it The Magicians? Because they have to deal with some deities, don't they? When they do travel to that magical world. And in fact, The Magicians is kind of a multiversal story. We have what is our modern world setting, and then they're able to travel to another realm where magic did exist for a time and then doesn't. Spoilers maybe, but you've had plenty of time to watch the series. Different dimensions. Astronomy. Are the moons, planets and stars real physical places like they are in the real world? Or are they something more fantastic, such as lights on a celestial dome, glowing sky whales navigating a hot void, or echoes of divine dreams on the shroud of night? Wow. Crafting. Is it possible for PCs to create magical ciphers and artifacts? Or is creating these items the purview of a mysterious cabal of sorcerers? Disciples of a jealous god of crafting? Or simply lost to antiquity? Again, just giving you lots of things to consider. Of course, as we've experienced with other Cypher System campaign setting books, we do have all these call-outs in the side margins, and if you get the PDF version of the book, you can click on these. It'll instantly take you to the appropriate page, which of course is very handy. And then, if all of that was not enough to get you thinking, we then have some roll tables for some random inspiration. And again, it pretty much goes through what we've just looked at. So we've got a base setting, starting location, significant events, knowledge of magic, access to magic, what magical people, magical creatures and player characters. Yes, says Roger, random tables. I like all this. This is really cool. Roger, give me a number between 1 and 100. Let's see what type of significant event might be occurring in our magical world. "36, he says. A major villain is about to return. What does that remind you of? He whose name shall not be spoken. Okay. Inspirational words. This table presents 50 interesting words to help inspire descriptions of your setting in general or things within it. I think this particular list of words is deliberately written so that I can't say any one of them. My goodness, this is a list of words that I do not want to tackle. So we're going to move straight on. Advising players on your setting. So it's going through, and actually this is a good example using everything that we've gone through already. This is now having created a setting, and no, I'm not going to say number 14. Oh, I can do 14. Cartouche. I can do 14. So we have a setting example, taking everything that we've looked at and putting it in practice. And this is, does it give a quick summary? Giving location examples for small Kansas town, a graduate school for magicians. In Manhattan, an Earth-like world where technology and magic coexist. So time period is modern day, the 1990s. Magical history is brand new. Magic is days or weeks old. Could you imagine that? Can you imagine a world where suddenly magic was a possibility? What happens if everybody could do magic all at once, but nobody quite knew how to do it? So some people got ahead and actually learned relatively quickly, were just, naturally gifted in it, and others had to really work at it. And some people, they could do it, but it just happens. That's actually an interesting world, isn't it? Here's an interesting little call out. Reversing death. Is magic powerful enough in your modern fantasy setting that it can bring people back from the dead? Or does it have some limitation? Possible or impossible? What would you go for, Roger? Would you be in your magical world? Would you have the power to be able to reverse death? Do you think that would make an interesting power? Could certainly make for interesting stories. Possible, but with limitation. Oh, okay. What would the limitation be? I'm intrigued to know what you might put as a boundary. Is it maybe a time? Maybe these things that you need to collect to be able to do so? So of course it's incredibly difficult. Maybe there is a bit of a twist to how those that you resurrect come back. The amount of time they were dead depicts what condition they come back in. Oh, wow. You've got to work real quick then. Yeah, I think that if you'd passed on and it took a while to bring somebody back, they might not want to come back in that state, hey? But that's interesting. That's cool. Chapter 3, Story and Plot. Looking at themes. What type of theme might your story have? What type of tropes? And again, it's calling out various books, TV shows, just to give you an idea. So, magic mastery. Magic is a discipline that can be mastered with years of study and practice. Examples being Avatar: The Last Airbender and, of course, Doctor Strange. An alternate history. Magic prevented notable historical events or put an unexpected spin on them. The Watchmen. Is there magic in Watchmen? It's an interesting one. True myths. Familiar myths like those of the Greek pantheon turn out to be fact. Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Here we go. A parallel society. The magic world is sequestered from the normal world with its own laws and customs. The magicians. And of course, and this is where we get multiple. So new to magic, characters discover that magic is real after a lifetime of oblivion, which is the magicians again. I like this. You're saying Percy Jackson is what you were thinking too. All right. We've got another amazing roll table for our story ideas. A number from 1 to 100, please. Let's see what kind of story we might create. Wow, there are so many here. A historical figure, Abraham Lincoln, Helen of Troy, appears and causes a commotion. 28, you say? An influx of potent magical ingredients messes with the crafting economy. Okay. Different. Here we go. Tryouts for an important or socially rewarding event. Music competition, sports team, cheerleading team, bar trivia karaoke competition. So that's interesting. How might you use magic to help your tryouts in the sports team or the cheerleading team? And what happens if it goes wrong? 98. A strange sickness only affects sorcerers, and only if they use magic near an infected person. Long-term effects include severe limits to a person's magic. Wow, so some kind of magical flu. Could be quite good fun. Okay, so again, more guidance on how to create your story and plot. Chapter 4, Playing and Running Modern Fantasy. Urban Adventures. Belonging to an organisation, getting a job. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Is that, yes, this world has magic as part of it, but your character, is still just living their life, and, you have to probably get a job. Maybe your job is related to magic. Maybe you work for some kind of organisation that deals maybe with the Ministry of Magic. Or maybe you own a business. Maybe you own a magical shop where you sell wands or potions. Owning a home. Maybe your home is a magical location. You see, that reminds me, doesn't John Constantine have a magical home that has lots of wards protecting it? And can't it move from place to place? And of course, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange has the his special. Oh, what's the name of Doctor Strange's house? Begins with an S. I can't think of it. It's not the Strange Mansion. There's more to it than that. I know it becomes with an S. So we get, of course, because this is a Cypher System game, we have our descriptors. We're adding new descriptors. The Chimera, the Dragon, the Ghost, the Hunter, Nyx, Sylph, and Unmagical. I like, actually, out of all of these, I like Unmagical. You're not good at using magic. In fact, it's clear that you're inherently unmagical. That would be me. I would be so unmagical, it's untrue. But I like how it does say that because you're so unmagical, you can actually use it as an advantage. So magic doesn't have an effect on you. All actions using magic, including casting spells and using magic objects, are hindered. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something you can do where you give, like that cold, you give off an aura that prevents magical users around you. There we go, the Sanctum Sanctorum. 177A Bleecker Street. That's the one. We, of course, then have our foci and character abilities. And, of course, there are many foci within the Cypher System core rulebook. It does go into details on how you can use some of those and adapt them to the modern day magical setting, but some of these are of course new, deliberately designed, and I like, what do we have here, conjuring bullets, which is quite neat. Hunts witches. And then this one, inks spells on skin. I was reading this and this made me think of, oh gosh, again, another TV series, the one Prison Break, where one of the protagonists has tattoos for how to break out of the prison. And of course, these would all be magical spells, wouldn't they? So that you could instantly hit that spell and cast it straight away. I thought that was quite cool. Is a car wizard. Again, we're getting fantastic artwork throughout the book here. I know I'm moving along at a fair pace, but yes, it's beautiful art, very evocative. Turns decay to growth. And so this section here is talking about making foci fantastic. So this is taking those foci from the Cypher System Rulebook and giving them that modern magical twist. We have some new abilities. Ghost car, share memory. Soul familiar. And then flavors. Flavors are groups of special abilities, usually centered around a particular theme, used to alter a character to suit a player's interest or to match the genre or setting. New flavors: charms and figments, cozy magic, divination, modern magic, and protection. It's So charms and figments flavor. Creating illusions and affecting minds are sometimes considered soft magical disciplines, as opposed to hard disciplines that manipulate energy or physical matter. It's common for a character with an interest in one to learn a few spells in the other. Cozy magical flavor. Sometimes a sorcerer isn't interested in combat magic and secrets of the universe. Sometimes cozy magic is enough. Bonding with a group of close friends, having a nice house, and providing support and comfort in times of need. Divination. Knowledge is power. Characters with the divination flavor are familiar with using magic to learn information, see into hidden places, and discover secrets. Characters who live in a modern world with magic and technology often know a bit about mixing the two of them together. These characters usually pick up a few useful spells, such as disrupting hostile magic or disabling a mugger's pistol, from various sources, much like how people tend to learn skills unrelated to their day job, like cooking, dancing, and playing the guitar. Protection. I've just noticed as one of these in tier 2 you can have safe sex. One creature you touch can have sexual encounters with no chance of causing pregnancy or transmitting an STI. This protection lasts for 10 hours. And I was just going to think, that's more protection surely. And we get to protection flavor, And yep, there it is. It's the ultimate contraceptive, this magical ability. Characters with a protection flavor use magic to defend against hostile environments, hazardous substances, dangerous creatures, and intrusive mental powers. We're moving on to equipment. We've got crafting ingredients, various inexpensive materials, expensive materials. What do we have? Flame kindled from a burning house. Gosh. Raindrops from a powerful storm. Got a section then on modern fantasy rules modules. Forming a coven, joining one, coven's talismans, and advancing within a coven. This is very much, is it Agatha Harkness? Her domain? Which is quite timely, taking a look at this book now. Cantrips, you see, now I went past this, but here we go. Cantrips are simple, low-powered spells that almost anyone can learn. In a modern fantasy setting, cantrips can be as ubiquitous and unremarkable as 21st century technology. Instead of using a flashlight function on a smartphone, use a light cantrip. Alright, so it's quick and easy magic that anybody can do. I wasn't familiar with that phrase. I guess this would be kind of slightly gimmicky magic, maybe. So, thinking about characters, what's your favourite magical character in a modern setting? Because of course, you see, when I was looking at this, when I think of magic, the very first character I think of is Gandalf. Always going to be Gandalf. Instantly first. But then of course Gandalf is a fantasy character, and I had to really think about my modern modern magical character. So put into the chat, leave a comment, who is your favourite modern magical character? Let's see what people come up with. I'm wondering if we have some interesting ones in the mix. Crafting magical items. And then we have side effects from exceeding your cipher limit. Having too many magical items. Use the wind to clean the floor. Yes. I guess these cantrips are maybe a little bit like the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Getting the brooms to do the sweeping for you. Familiars. If there was magic, I feel that a familiar would be actually quite a cool addition. So we have standard pets, magical familiars. Maybe we can have a standard pet who can talk. That'd be cool. I mean, what kind of... Is he a little demon? Not sure. Creatures and NPCs. So this is looking at all of the creatures. Now, this is actually intended only for the GM, so we're going to skip past this. No, in fact, actually, we're not going to skip past. We're going to... Oh, where is it? There we go. We'll put the spoilers up. Just so that if you do not want to have some of these creatures ruined, then I guess now is the time to turn away. All right, let's continue. So, what have we got? It does actually call out Godforsaken, which is another of the white books, isn't it? I think that's the fantasy white book. Because we have a variety of different creatures here, some of which... We've got an asterisk saying that these NPCs are found in the Cypher System Rulebook. Godforsaken has additional creatures and NPCs for a traditional fantasy game, which could be appropriate for the modern day setting. So again, this is where the two books might work in concert. So we got Divinity of the City. Gargoyles. Oh, you see, this would be a little bit like Ghostbusters, I suppose, wouldn't it? Because I suppose they're kind of magical creatures. Hail Mary. Say her name 13 times, but only if you dare. An internet demon. That's an interesting character that very much brings it into the modern age. Isn't that something in... Oh, gosh, what's it called? The Neil Gaiman book about the gods. And isn't there a internet? They updated it and actually had it. Was it a television internet god? And if you can have a god, you can have a demon, can't you? Urban Brownie. The Ghostbusters setting. Is there magic in the Ghostbusters world? There's certainly old gods, isn't there? And things that would seem magical. And yes, I suppose there is. There's ghosts. There's a lot of ghosts. And we do have ghosts featured in this. Let's... Demon Hunter. So, of course, I'm thinking of the brothers Winchester when I see this. We have our ciphers. Magic open portals, yeah. So some examples of modern fantasy ciphers. And of course it goes into all the details here. As you might imagine, there is pages after pages of all kinds of ciphers. And then we have our artifacts, which again goes into similar level of detail. I'm pretty sure I saw in this, I want to flip back before we get to part 2. Because I don't want to have missed it by. I was pretty sure I saw something about being a ghost. Oh, here we go. There we go. So we can have that sort of Ghostbusters theme. If unfortunately you are dead, but hey, it's not all bad. Your spirit has remained in the mortal world, and you can still walk among the living. But you no longer need pesky things like food or sleep. So you can be a ghost as a player character, which is very different. Or maybe it's a case of your character gets turned into a ghost in so much as they died. You can carry on playing. What was that old series? Oh gosh, Randall and Hopkirk Deceased. There you go. That's a bit of a call back to old TV shows. So you could be detectives, with one of you being dead. Can you imagine the types of things that you might be able to solve or to investigate if one of the PCs is deceased? Okay, so we get to part 2, the Axial. This is the campaign setting. And as we've come accustomed to, Monte Cook White Books do these splendid campaign settings where everything you could possibly think of is all set up and ready. And you can just introduce your players to the setting and away you go. Of course, this is for GMs. So this chapter is intended for GMs and players and is spoiler free. So this is the introductory chapter. So this is what makes an adventure cozy. Cozy adventures are warm and comforting, more concerned with the lives of ordinary people than with saving the world. In the Axial, magic is integrated into mundane life. It can be flashy and spectacular, or it can be a phone app. The stakes are low and stories are centered on communities and relationships. Cozy adventures are for you if you like a slice of life TV shows like Charmed and Felicity, or life simulator games like Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley. Okay. Well, this will be interesting. So, what do we have? It's going through all of the elements that we've already looked at, but have everything set out. So it details what magic is in the Axial. The Estival. The Estival is the energy of growth, daylight, and beginnings. This is the energy you usually reach for when you're creating something new, healing someone, or generating a course of action. So the Axial is a modern fantasy campaign setting designed for use with the Cypher System Rulebook, and it's only magic. PCs are magicians in the modern world going on cozy adventures in their local community, which you can set in your own hometown or a city you're familiar with. Okay. We have some details about some of the NPCs. Foretellers, McClure and Sons, Enchanters. If you need a bit of flavour to dress up a library, bookstore or magician's backpack, here's a list of in-world books about various magical topics that might interest the PCs. Oh my goodness, okay. Roger, a number between 1 and 100, please. Okay. Give me a number and then I'll tell you the one that I found. It made me laugh. 94. Wand Law. Elder, Ash and You by Scoresby Garrett. So there you go. You want to have a book all about wands. That's interesting. What did I find? I found on number 68, Sex Magic by Keildis Fruscan. I can't even say the last name. But then I also found The Magic of Dating, Relationships, and Marriage. And using software to improve casting. Here we go. Magic rings, one for each finger. Definitely lots of... Oh, I'm glad. Yes, yes, yes. It's off by one number. Yes, well, I think that must have been a deliberate choice. Deliberate choice. Magic rings, one for each finger. The rings of power. I mean, it's cool that we've got a whole host of different books here, which is quite cool. Enchanting pasta. That's cool. Death and necromancy. So that's a lot of fun. I like that. I like that. What do we have? The Gateside Foundation. Spirit callers. We have reporters. We have ghosts. So again, it's just going through everything. Setting up this world for the GM and the players. So this is the different characters. This chapter is intended for players, but it's important for the GM to know this stuff too. Ritual magic. So as it says, this is about slice of life storytelling, is finding excitement in the ordinary. And what's ordinary for your characters probably isn't the same as what's ordinary for you as a player. Slice of life means that we set stories within magicians' daily routines and let adventures arise along the way. So isn't slice of life, isn't that a genre within manga and anime? Oh, you're asking, is there a magic for dummies? Oh well, I've got to find out. That's a cool idea. I wonder. Or something the equivalent. Car wizardry made easy. I'm not seeing anything. But I think you could have a lot of fun creating your own book titles. I mean, yeah, there would be, wouldn't there? What to look for when buying a broom. Wine in witchcraft. Because witches like their wine, don't they? Okay, so communities and relationships. Recommended character arcs. Aid a friend, assist an organization, develop a bond, growth, instruction, join an organization, raise a child, redemption, repay a debt, and romance. So we get into then the GM secrets. So this is where players, you definitely stop. This is purely for the GM. Episodic storytelling. So this is very much, rules on how to put together a TV show, isn't it? And how you tell your stories. Again, this is what I really, really enjoy about these white books. They go into so much detail, and the advice that they give within the books is useful for any style of storytelling in any world. This, of course, is focused in on, as we know, the magical in a modern day setting. So we then have Golvin Park is a city in the axial setting, providing a detailed place for your stories of cozy magic. You can set a campaign in Golvin Park, using it as a city where your characters live and work. So this is very much is a sort of everyday life. And we have an area of the city laid out, various... A bit of a high street, isn't it? Different shops, coffee shops. What else do we have? In fact, we'll go into some detail, won't we? Yeah, Society Coffee and Books, Friendship Park. No forks given. A soup and sandwich joint that provides chopsticks, knives and spoons, but kicks out anyone who asks for a fork. I like that. That's great. It's a Cardinal Street corridor map. Brews and Baubles, the 9th Street Barbershop, Speedy's Pharmacy, and the Dead Mall. It's interesting. It's definitely different. So did you say what kind of magical character is your favourite? I did have a little bit of a think about this, thinking about magical characters in a modern setting, and I realised that the character that I gravitated to first and foremost is John Constantine. So when I think of modern day magical characters, he's the one. I think of him before Doctor Strange. Of course, I'd be remiss not to mention Harry. I guess he would probably be my second character that I would think of. But I've realised that there are so many characters, isn't there, in this modern magical setting that you could draw from or use as inspiration in your setting. What's this? A ghost in a library? Were we not talking about this? And then we have part 4. We have our various adventures. In this modern fantasy adventure, the PCs help clean up the aftermath of a DIY disaster, which has resulted in a house full of unruly automatons. Home economics is suitable for 3 to 5 tier 1 PCs and can be played as a one-shot. So is this a modern day Sorcerer's Apprentice? Feels like a little bit like that. So we have our final 3 adventures. And that pretty much brings us to the end. And of course, what we have our index. And then We do have the setting for the axial, the street map, which we can fold out and put onto the table. And that is the book. So there you go. That's a look through. It's Only Magic, a Cypher System campaign supplement from Monte Cook Games. That's very interesting. It's different. Me personally, I think I gravitate more towards my fantasy magic with Gandalf. But, you know, incorporating magic into a modern day setting. This incorporates all the rules and gives you a lot of food for thought to be able to discover how you might introduce it into your games. So definitely a worthy addition, as we have found with all of these white books, that even if you're not necessarily playing the Cypher system, these are valuable resources for you to read for other systems as well. Rogue is saying, yes, very nice book. Can be used in a lot of different worlds. Indeed it can. Yes. Yeah. I think you learn a lot from the white books. So I really do value them as part of my game library for sure. All right. So again, our thanks to Monte Cook Games for providing the copy for us to take a look at this evening. So keeping magic in mind, on Thursday, we are going to take a look at Through the Hedgerow, a role-playing game of rustic fantasy. This is a game that involves magical fae creatures, but also supernatural adventures and time travel as we fight against the forces of darkness across the ages. This is a very different and very unique game and game setting, so I hope you will join me on Thursday from 7 o'clock to go and explore Through the Hedgerow. But until then, thanks for getting involved this evening. Do leave a comment on the video, and of course please like and subscribe. That's what you're supposed to do on the old YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. But until then, bye for now.